Hello everybody, this is Kostas Tsakas and this is our very first tutorial in Photoshop. Now in this series of tutorials I'm going to be covering stuff that have to do with photo editing in Photoshop, but I'm not going to go over stuff like 3D animation and motion just because I don't think that that's what Photoshop is for, and I guess most people are basically dealing with photography in Photoshop. So if you've come here to learn photo editing, you're in the right place. Come join us. Now, I'm using Photoshop CS5, so I guess if you're using an older version, you're not going to have any problem following along. I'm going to start in this tutorial by showing you the interface of Photoshop. Up here at the top, we have our applications bar, and the applications bar has to do basically with the way you view things in the interface. Over here, or work area or workspace, however you want to call it. Now under the applications bar you have the menu, and the menu is basically where all of the menus are organized, and it's just like in any other program. And I want to note one thing: if you click on one menu and you go at an option, for example this one just closes an image, at the side you can see this those keys, and they're basically the shortcut to doing this thing without going at the menu, and it saves you time. It's a handy thing to know if you want to do things faster. Here are all of the shortcuts of those options. Now the third bar is the tool options bar, and whenever you select a different tool you get different options, and all of the options appear up here in the settings of your tool, and that is because every tool does a different thing and every tool is unique. So if I just go ahead and select a different tool from the toolbox, you can see that the options change over here at the top. So I get different options for every tool, and they're all showing up over here. Over here we have our toolbox, and our toolbox basically is where all of the tools are listed. And one thing to know about it is that the tools you view right now are not all of the tools. There are more tools that are hidden in little groups. And if you see this little arrow at the icon of a tool, you can just click and hold onto the icon and more tools will show up, and they're basically similar tools to this one, and you can just click one tool and it's going to be selected. You get the same effect if you just right click. You get the group of tools that is under this tool, so you can just select a different tool. There are two ways to view your toolbox. If you click on those two little arrows, you can just view them two in a row, or you can just view them all in a big row, and that's just fine. Whichever one you like is best, I guess. Now at the center we have our document window, and the document window is the most important part of Photoshop, and that's why it's in the center. It's where you view all of the images and where you do all of the editing. And we have those tabs up here at the top, as you can see, and if I click on one of them you can see you can switch between the images. And that's how our images are organized right now. We can organize them in different ways, but tabs are a good way to do it because it saves you kind of some space, and we'll go over that later on. Now at the side we have our tabs and panels. And it's important to understand that about Photoshop. That's what makes Photoshop's interface really flexible. It's the fact that all of the things of the work area, and this is your work area over here, this big place, are organized in tabs and panels. And that's what makes Photoshop's interface so flexible, as I said again and again. Now, you can do all sorts of things with them, but I'm just going to first show you what tabs have, what options they have, and what menus they include. Now down here at the bottom you have this little menu that gives you some options, and especially in this layers tab it's really important. At the center you have your settings, and this is basically where all of the work is done in your tab. And at the side you have this little menu, and this little menu gives you a lot of options to play with in your tab, and you can see that every tab has its own options over here. Now the only options that are the same are the close and close tab group, and that basically just closes this tab. And you see this layer tab, it's right here, and if I just click on that and then click close, it's just gonna close. And to open it up again, you can go to the window menu, and here, from here down to here, are all of the tabs available in Photoshop, and they can do all sorts of different things. So you have endless number of tabs, an endless number of tabs. Basically they're a lot, that's why I'm saying endless. And if I click on layers, that's the tab we just closed, it's just gonna show up again. and it's gonna appear for us and ready to use. Now, you can achieve this effect of closing the tab by right-clicking, and if you just choose Close Tab Group, it's going to close all of these 3 tabs that are grouped in this little panel over here, and that's called a tab group, and I call it a mini window or something. You can call it whatever way you want. Now, there's a lot of customization that can take place in Photoshop, and you can customize the tabs in any way you want. Let's just go ahead and customize them how we want to customize them, and I'm just going to drag this. And you can see I dragged it, and you can see you can drag tabs out and put them back in place, and you can change the positions of them the way you wish to do it. And I'm just going to put it back in place right now so we don't mess things up. And you can basically just drag this, for example, out. You can do endless things customizing your interface. So if I just drag one tab at the other side of the panel, maybe that's how I like it to be. Let's just expand it by clicking at those 2 little arrows and expand our toolbox. You just see we get a different interface, work area basically. And that is because we changed the way we view our tabs and we changed their positions. And wouldn't it be nice if you want to use this a lot, this interface a lot, you just like this interface and it helps you a lot. Wouldn't it be nice if you can save it? Well, you can save it in a thing called a workspace. And what a workspace basically is, it's a variation of the places of your tabs and the positions that they have. So you can just go in Window, Workspace, and here are some workspaces that are made by Photoshop for us, and they come with the program. And you can see that there's a button here that says New Workspace. Now, if you click on that, you can just name the workspace however you want, Tutorial Workspace and Workspace, and it just I want to replace it. I have made this workspace again for this tutorial, so I'm just going to replace it. Now you can see that we have this workspace that we made and we saved it in this workspace basically. Now to load a workspace, you can just go in Workspace and just click on it, and you can see that those workspaces made by Photoshop, for example, they're for special things. And for example, painting, this workspace shows some brushes and some stuff that are relevant to painting. And it depends on what you want to do that you have a different workspace. Now I've made a workspace that's called Home, just to show you how many different tabs there are in Photoshop. And those are basically all of the tabs in Photoshop, and they can do all sorts of different things. So you can just go on Window and open up any of the tabs. And what I've done here is I've grouped them all in those little icons. And if you click on one icon, you can open the tab. And those are all of the tabs available. Now, everything you can do with workspaces from this menu, workspace, and this menu, you can do it up here as well at the applications bar. You can view all of your workspaces right here, and if you click those 2 little arrows, you can view the workspaces right here as well. And what else you can do is you can create a workspace, delete, and reset, and you can also do those stuff from the workspace menu. And that's what's great about Photoshop, is that you can find everything in a lot of different places, and you can pick the one that fits you best and just use that one. Now if we go back to the Essentials default workspace, because that's the one we started with, you'll see that everything is in the place that it wasn't in that place when we began with, and that is because we changed things up to create this tutorial workspace. Now if we want to reset it to what it was, you can just reset Essentials, and it's gotta put everything back in place at the workspace as it was before you messed with it. And so that's the idea behind Photoshop. You can have workspaces, and you can basically organize everything the way you want, just to get a better Photoshop editing experience. I hope you learned a little bit about the interface of Photoshop and about workspaces, and see you guys next time.